When I was in middle school, many days I would come home when my parents were still at work. I made myself a snack and I sat down in front of the TV. At some point in those years, I saw a nature program about panda bears in China. Their habitat was rapidly disappearing due to human development in the area. I was concerned about human thriving was in direct conflict with the thriving of the pandas. And I decided at that moment that I wanted to be a part of the solution. And thus began my dream of becoming a conservation wildlife biologist. I even almost went to China to work with the pandas after studying Chinese my first 2 years of college. But it turns out I was not that good at Chinese. And I also was not that good at memorizing the names of the bones and blood vessels and nerves and musculature of many species. The more I studied biology, ornithology, comparative vertebrate anatomy, the less I enjoyed it. My attention kept returning to that intersection of all that science with humanity. And while science was and is essential for conservation, I personally wanted to better understand what was going on with humans and how to negotiate this convergence between humanity and everything else. And so I pivoted my studies to look more at how our decisions are informed by social, political, and emotional phenomena. And while that journey ultimately led me to wanting to become a rabbi, I am still clear. No matter what it is that I do, I am a human and I live on a planet, and there is a relationship between me and that planet, and my health and well-being and that of everyone I love and know, and also those whom I don't know, depends upon the earth and the well-being of our planet. What we all do impacts this planet, and what this planet does impacts us. We are each and all in a perpetual dance of interconnection with the earth and with one another. As I have journeyed more and more deeply into Judaism, I have found that our tradition has a lot to say about this relationship. Recently, I was reading a book about Judaism and ecology, where Rabbi David Seidenberg states much of what I felt when I started thinking about the pandas. He says, "We are called to protect the lives of the species on Earth, even while we simultaneously are destroying those lives. In one sense, this is an unavertible condition of life. It is we who decide about the species, about who will live and who will die. We have a lot of power. And as Winston Churchill famously said, where there is great power, there is great responsibility." Tonight begins the celebratory day of Rosh HaShanah, the head of the year. We are beginning again, another time around the sun for our planet. The coming year for all of creation is pregnant with opportunity, discovery, becoming, manifesting, healing, and blessing. On birthdays, we often like to look at and post on Facebook the baby pictures of our beloveds. We recall their birth stories and their coming to be who they are today. So I want to take a moment and do that for our world. The story in Torah goes something like this. Once upon a time, there was an entity that the Jewish tradition called Elohim, or Adonai, or Yud-He Vav-He. In other words, what we call today God. And this entity in the Torah story caused all that is to become. And on our planet, that meant colors, textures, smells and tastes, warmth and cold, sound and silence, oceans and mountains, rivers and deserts, and life. From the blue-green algae to the sequoia trees, from coral to mushrooms, from sea anemones to octopus, from hummingbirds to elephants, from dragonflies to you and me. Wow, right? I was speaking with a fellow rabbi recently who said, "What's the main point of Judaism? Blessings and gratitude. Judaism says, don't go through life on automatic pilot, be awake. Creation is amazing." On Rosh HaShanah, we pause and say, yes, I am awake. I am grateful. Creation is entirely amazing. We blow the shofar, the ram's horn, to make sure that on this new year we are all indeed awake. And we do so by making 3 different kinds of sounds. Tekiah, a singular whole blast. Truah, a broken blast of 9 smaller blasts. Shevarim, a wailing blast of 3 middle-sized blasts. Why these sounds? Some say it is because we all need to hear that the world is whole, that the world is broken, that the world is wailing. On this day of the celebration of creation, we must not only see the light, we must look at the all too real darkness. We strive to see all that is, to acknowledge that which is broken and that which is needing grief, and to honor that. I read recently in the news, as the world goes through what some scientists believe to be its hottest year on record, emperor penguin populations in the Antarctic are suffering catastrophic losses, with no chicks surviving the spring of 2022 in 4 of 5 colonies observed for a new study. The loss of the chicks coincides with record low sea ice coverage, which was predicted as the world warmed, but the collapse in numbers has happened faster and sooner than expected, prompting fears for the future of the animal. This news hit close to home for me, for my favorite animal as a child was a penguin. I thought to myself, not the penguins too, and this is so sad for me. The climate is changing. California had its first tropical storm warning in history. Hawaii experienced the deadliest wildfire the United States has ever known. The East Coast experienced unprecedented wildfire smoke earlier this summer, and we on the West Coast now come to expect to live with smoke every summer. I hear it's a season in Oregon, as a matter of fact. We too also, too many of us know personally the impact and loss that can come from wildfires. These climate changes are because of our actions as a species. Yes, we have innovated, created, and cultivated in miraculous ways, but in so doing, we have simultaneously been a force for destruction. Before the Industrial Revolution, people were entirely and necessarily intertwined with the rhythm of nature. And after, people began to lose touch with it. Some contemporary, ecologically focused Torah commentators say this is not unlike what was lost with the expulsion of Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden. In the garden, all was harmony and harmonious. So much so that it was there that the very name given to humanity was Adam, from the word Adamah, which means earth. Every day in Judaism, we are supposed to say the Shema prayer 2 times. The Shema begins, Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel. Adonai Eloheinu, the Lord is our God. Adonai Echad, the Lord is one. This is our most central affirmation in Judaism, and it comes directly from the Torah. It affirms Adonai Echad. God is oneness, not separateness. It offers a foundation to hold on to in the midst of so much disharmony that we are seeing in our world today. In the second paragraph of the Shema, we then receive a warning to be careful with our actions and intentions because they are inseparable from the well-being of the earth and ultimately could make or break us. Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi, of blessed memory, offers this very accessible translation of that paragraph. How good it will be when you really listen and hear my directions which I give you today, for loving Adonai, who is your God, and to act godly with feeling and inspiration. Your earthly needs will be met at the right time, appropriate to the season. You will reap what you planted for your delight and health. Also, your animals will have ample feed, and all of you will eat and be content. Be careful. Watch out. Don't let your cravings delude you. Don't become alienated. Don't let your cravings become your gods. Don't debase yourself to them, because the God sense within you will become distorted. Heaven will be shut to you, grace will not descend, earth will not yield her produce, your rushing will destroy you, and earth will not be able to recover her good balance in which God's gifts manifest. Such a powerful reminder that we must be good stewards of our lives and our time and our attention, all of which can impact the earth. We are inseparable, says Torah. We are echad, one. And today is a perfect time for us to look at how we are showing up for this essential relationship. Are we tending or are we rushing? Are we listening or are we ignoring? Are we seeing what really is or only what we want to see? Are we connected or are we alienated? Rabbi David Seidenberg suggests, in order for humanity to turn back from defacing the earth, we must turn to behold the earth's face. When we do so, we are reaching toward much more than a solution to the climate crisis. We may restore our hearts to the natural world, retune our senses to the many creatures that surround us, and reclaim our companionship with them. And as we renew the face of the earth, we may also restore ourselves to God, who is, after all, image not just in human beings, but in all the innumerable beings and ways of being and evolving, all of us related, all of us composing this universe, which also holds our bodies, our spirits, and our dreams. We must remember to turn toward the earth again and again. And the shofar calls us back to the earth. Pay attention, see all that is, reconnect. It is not too late. We can be part of the healing. I often thought, especially when I was a teenager, What can I, just one person, actually do? The brokenness is endless. But I don't think that way anymore. I think that the little things I do and the little things that you do can add up a whole lot. And actually, we know this to be true, for that is how the world and the climate has come to be where it is today, negatively impacted by the collective actions of us all. Can it not be true for how the world might be positively impacted by our collective actions for good? And things are indeed changing. A few weeks ago, I heard an Instagram post by sustainability scientist and climate activist Elena Wood, who makes posts about good climate news. She shared, "The people of Ecuador voted over the weekend to ban oil drilling in nearly 4,000 square miles of the Amazon rainforest. The nonprofit Ocean Cleanup has removed a record 25,000 pounds of trash from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch in one go. Scientists in Sri Lanka have discovered a species of fungi that can fully break down polyethylene plastic. India has reduced their emissions 33% per unit of GDP in under 20 years, thanks to reforestation and renewable energy projects. And if we transition to clean energy, the number of ships crossing our oceans would decrease by around 50%, since so many of them ship fossil fuels." I know that many of us in this room and in our congregation have begun to shift our use of fossil fuels by placing solar panels on our homes and driving electric and hybrid vehicles and so much more. It all adds up. A friend recently pointed out to me, the Shema says, "Hear, O Israel," not "Hear, O Julie," who is only one person all by herself. It is calling all of us to pay attention and to respond and act together. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote, "The Torah came to tell inattentive man that you are not alone. You live constantly in a holy neighborhood." And I am so grateful that my holy neighborhood includes all of you. And so during these Yamim Noraim, these days of awe, as we look back and as we look inside, as we look around us, we can consider our deeds that really matter and consider our world that is bursting with wonder and that we entirely depend on. We can honor our place of wholeness that is also broken and wailing. And we can remember that together we can find a better way forward and through. May it come to be that all can be seen as very good, as it was in the Torah in the beginning of the Garden of Eden, when God first laid eyes on all of creation. And may this goodness endure for the children of the world and their children, and for our sisters and brothers who are the pandas and the penguins, the deserts and the mountains, the oceans and the flowers. All of us are one. All of us are the fullness of the amazingness that is creation. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so. L'shana Tova.
Very, very nice.